I felt like I didn't belong until I found my inner truth. Hi, my name is Mei, and I am your host of this podcast. I want to invite you on this spiritual journey to find love, acceptance, inner truth, and a sense of belonging, in spite of a multicultural background. Let's get together and overcome our issues with labels and stop trying to fit in boxes that were not made for us. Let's stop looking at what makes us different and see what brings us together without losing our authenticity. If you like the podcast, please give it a 5-star rating. This will give more people the opportunity to find us, or share it with someone who will benefit of it. In today's episode, I want to talk to you about one of the essences of this podcast, about our culture and our values, what the difference means to me, and why it's so important to know, to be able to know ourselves better. Have fun with today's episode. Servus everybody, and hello and welcome to today's episode of Multicultural, Spiritually Belonging to the Stars. Today's topic is very close to my heart because it's also one of the drivers of this podcast, of this whole project of us creating this community of mixys, of mixed race, mixed cultures, mixed, mixys in general. I find the term mixy so very perfect for all of us, because I don't just want to speak to people that are multicultural, because I also want to speak to people that basically have mixed things within them that are not just one straight line to what their culture, their environment gives to them. And that's why today I chose this special topic, cultures versus values. Because I want to bring out this question to everybody out there. What makes us who we are? Is it really can we define ourselves by a culture, by a country? Or is it something that goes way deeper? Like even our society that surrounds us, how do we define ourselves, right? Like how do I find out who I am, who is behind this? And I'm using this podcast, of course, to share with you what I have found on my path, on my spiritual journey. But I also want to use this opportunity to give you an idea, to give you maybe a little poke in the right direction, right? Being a mixed race person, being a multicultural person, being a mixy, of course, I was raised in different cultures, and each culture had their own values, right? So what defines a culture? A culture is defined by values that make that culture that special way, right? So let's just let's go into all those prejudiced things that we have surrounding us. And I'm using this strong word of prejudice because it is that way, right? If you find someone that's from Germany, you're going to see, okay, that person must be very structured, very, very square, a lot from their head probably. And then if you talk about a Latino person, I love the prejudice of Latinos always being late, and I don't like the one where the people say that Latinos are lazy, because I know very many Latinos that have never been lazy in their lives. But it's still out there, it's still something that's out there. It's the same, like we know Japanese people are very tidy, are very, minimalist as well, because at least in the world that I am surrounded with, there's a lot of Marie Kondo, magic cleaning, how to become more minimalist with those kind of things. And like that, or I don't know, I'm just trying to name a few, right? I don't want to be prejudiced. I just want to name a few misconceptions that we have, and each one of us has them in one way or another. And I'd like you to think about that. Like, where do you have that? Like when you put people in there, and because what I'm trying to see for myself is And it's also something that helped me overcome a lot of things. Seeing those things not as something negative, but actually as something where I can draw energy from, where I can draw my strength from. And that's what I want to share with you, because for me, of course, every country that I have in my DNA has their own values. Like the Germans have, like they might be sometimes being seen from the world like, very square, but on the other hand, also they have this beautiful thing that they are very open. They talk about things, they are very honest. That's what's known from them. And so that's why sometimes, at least in my family, my surroundings, from my Latin American family, like I would see how they would talk about my dad, how honest he is, and how, that's not, like, oh, he's being honest again, because within the Latino community or the Chinese community, you don't speak certain things out like that. So that's always, a little bit. And I remember, and I know they didn't say that in a bad way, but I remember growing up, oh yeah, you're so German. And I know that they would say that in a good way. They would say that in a way because they wanted to bring out the special thing that was in me. But at the same time, what they were creating was a distance to me, and I was trying to fit in with them. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be like them, like be part of their way of being. But and this is the thing, why us mixys have the name of the third cultural children, because we create that third culture, because I have a German side that has certain values, and I have a Latino side that has certain values, and I have a Chinese side that has certain values. And the thing is that when I was trying to put myself just in one value, just with one country, with my family, for example, in Latin America, I was trying to belong there, but I would see for myself that there were things that I didn't want to be part of, because it didn't go with my values. And it's the same thing with my German family. I was trying to belong to my German family, to be part of my German family, but I was seeing that I didn't have the same values like they did. Like I had certain other views of things. And that didn't mean, and I'm not saying that any of them are bad in any way. I'm not saying that any of them, like are not good or whatever. This is right, like I'm trying to say this as judgment free as possible. I'm just saying that instead of connecting me with them, it actually made a wall. Until, and that's the thing, until I decided, or it is a decision that I took for myself, but it was help that I got from a therapist actually, who told me, it's like, why do you, she told me, like, when I see you, I feel like you feel that all your cultures are a burden. And actually you feel like you have to decide to be something. But actually you have this treasure chest. And she would tell me that it was hard for her to understand, or, well, she's a psychologist, therapist, so she knows. She did understand, but I mean, she said, like, why don't you see this instead of a burden? Why don't you see this as a valued treasure chest? Because any moment, you can decide to be anything else. So that was interesting for me on one hand, because it allowed me to see my multicultural background as a treasure. Because suddenly, instead of seeing, the lazy Latinos, I would see, wow, the Latinos have this warmth. They have this embrace of life, of let's celebrate, let's go dancing. Let's be emotional together, Allowing that side to exist in my life actually gave me the strength also to allow myself to bring my feminine side out. Allowing myself to embrace the Chinese side that is very, they are very proud in certain things, but they also see things through, So I was having that. Like, my grandmother is a very curious person, and I hope that when I get to be 90, that I'm the same as curious about life like she is. My father, my German father, is someone that has spoken in front of, very important people, diplomats and stuff. And he has this thing that he can actually make people listen to him. And this is what I'm doing here. I'm embracing that heritage because I'm here with you, and hopefully I'm not boring you, but I'm embracing that side, and I'm embracing the values of all of these people. So now I'm creating myself with my own values. And now the reason why I'm talking about culture versus values is because I believe that it's not healthy, and I'm talking to myself in that way as well. It's not healthy for us to define ourselves only by cultures, to put those labels on, but not as labels, but as shackles. I believe that if we see them as guidelines, it's a nuance, it's a color that we're allowed to use, and something where we can create our own new values. Because the thing is, if you look deeper into that thing, the reason how we connect to each other is when we find the same values with each other. If I find someone that has similar values to me, we're going to be on the same level. And if we have more than one similar value, then we're going to, connect really amazingly, and it's going to be amazing. And that value doesn't define, doesn't have to do with the culture I was raised in. It doesn't have to do with the country that I'm from. It doesn't have to be my gender. It doesn't have to be anything except just a value that I decided to value myself. Like a label that I decide to live in. Not that the outside world or, the society has put on me, but actually that I decided for myself what value I want to have. And I don't have to define that value by a culture. I don't have to define that value like that. Because if I find this connection with other people through the values that I have, I take away so many walls. I take down so many walls because I'm going to connect to people that are on the same energy level like I am. And it's not easy being, like I said earlier, the third culture child, being a mixy. It's not always easy because, sometimes I have more German values and sometimes I have more Latino values. But the whole mix of that, I believe that us mixys are part of that generation, especially now. I mean, with the whole globalization, with all of us being on this planet from different cultures. We've always been from different cultures. We've always had mixing of cultures. And that's the thing. It's not about creating that distance, building more walls around us, but it's actually of finding the same values. And I believe that there is, like we have the universal laws, we also have the universal values that make us as human beings valuable to each other, give us values, give us meaning, give us our reason to be on this planet. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this today, because I believe that for us, it's important to, especially because we are mixys, to be an example of how we can bring down walls, how we can actually and concentrate more on the values that make us the human beings that we are. And we can only do that when we start doing it with ourselves. And that's one of the things that, because I mean, maybe I guess, I hope that I'm not the only one that was raised. No, I'm not. That's why I'm doing this podcast. I mean, we all have been raised in a way to fit into different cultures, to accept other people's values, But the thing is to find out where we are, where we stand, where our value is. What do we want to stand for? who do we want to be? And I know it's not always easy when we have so many different, how do you call that? Like different pictures, different things that are shown to us throughout our lives. But it's our decision to see, what do I want to be of that? And if that person that I want to be is a mix of everything, that's great. Embrace that greatness, embrace that, because that's you. And that's every one of us. We all have this uniqueness at the same time that connects us. The thing is, we can connect through our uniqueness, and we can become one through our uniqueness. We can be so many of us together at the same time, being each one of us the individuals we're allowed to be. And that's why, I wanted to give you this impulse or this idea or this little, nudge to see for yourself, maybe throughout whatever you do in the next couple of days, in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully maybe for your life, to make yourself aware of what is a cultural law, to make it a little bit harder. What is a cultural law? What is your society trying to put on you? And what is an actual value that you decide that you want to have, that you want to stand for, that you want to represent? And of course, always with the addition, if you decide to be something today and tomorrow you decide you want to be something else, just do it. Just be it. Because, come on, we're mixys. Okay, with that, I'm letting you off to the week. I think it was pretty long today, but I hope you got what I tried to tell you. Sending you a big hug, a lot of energy, and hopefully some good new ideas to look at your culture and at your values, and to see what really matters to you, what makes it important for you. And with that, another big servus from Munich. Hoping you have a good time. Bye.